Aloha, 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 everyone. I'm just waiting for a moment. Um, Aloha, it's Jennifer Victoria Bell. And I know this title might be a little bit head scratching for some of you, but this is the multidimensional consequences of tacit consent to parasitic use of life force energy. So, we're here as humans. We have this body vessel, right? We have this vessel of a body for our soul, for that expression. We're here together on a planet. We're here as a human race. There are many different shapes and forms of us, but there's life that exists um, in this planet that is beyond three-dimensional consciousness, and each one of us exists beyond three-dimensional consciousness and even beyond five-dimensional fifth dimensional consciousness. And so I got this clear message to share to help people understand what's going on. So those of you that are in the know that have been doing this kind of work, maybe you've been working in the Akashic Records, maybe you have been helping people with past life regression, maybe you've been doing energy healing, and maybe you are to that level of being aware and conscious of how you're utilizing your life force energy. And because I've been doing this work for a long time and I see how I can sense and I'm aware of the impact of energy on the physical body, and not just energy that's, that's current, closest to our body. There's energy, you know, we have a vast web of life that exists beyond just our universe, and it's a web of life, okay? So what's interesting is that we live on a planet where systems have been set up to feed off of our life force energy, and not just the life force energy of humans, the life force energy um, of plants and of the actual earth, like the ground, um, the vital life force energy of animals, the vital life force energy of trees, of so many things, right? We take what we want. So there's a way to work with these resources, these plant life resources, for us to consume in a way that's more ethical and more sustainable. Um, Otherwise, we wouldn't have the resource of fruit and vegetables, right? Um, as far as animals are concerned, I leave that up to the individual to decide what works for them in the realm of causing harm and honoring vital life force energy, because we know in many indigenous cultures, if they have to take the life of an animal, they do a ritual. They recognize that taking the life of an animal, even to feed their family, means you have to offer something to the animal. So we've lost that, right? We have mass, this kind of mass consumption of things that without this honoring of life force. So if you're here, say hello, let me know you're here. So I want to talk about this because I think it's important. I think this is a lot of where light workers actually get tripped up. So if you're an energy healer or a light worker, whatever you want to call yourself, I really believe this is where we're getting tripped up. So there's a way of being where you could say, like, well, if I just, I'm loving light, if I just keep saying that, right? Well, we're still here, right? So when if a car is driving towards you, do you send love and light to the car and hope that it gets out of the way, it sees you and recognizes the love and light and doesn't hit you? Do you? No. So when it comes to these bigger issues that we are, aloha, oh, I'm so glad you're all here. We have to understand that when we are trying to understand who we are on a soul level, and we're tacitly consenting to the abuse of life force energy, it shows up in how we connect multidimensionally, and it affects how we can receive multidimensionally. Now, many of you don't know that we've been tacitly consenting to the abuse of life force energy on a grand scale. You don't understand it. I'm not here to shame you. I'm not here to judge you. It's it's we came here born under that veil and not understanding. And there are people in positions of power that are obscuring this truth from you. And it's time to do some research to understand that, um, you know, well, basically, it's not just I don't consent to vaccines. I don't consent to any system that is interested in feeding off of vital life force energy of another being. I do not consent. And on a third dimensional level, we need to say that. We can't just go love and light, and expect the car, which could be anything. The car could be anything. It could be whatever you see as a threat. You can't love and light that. You've got to actually say no, because that's part of utilizing free will. And we are, honestly, we are, not to be dramatic, but this is a war we're in. We're in a war. We're in a world war. You don't realize it. Um, because in some ways we're kind of like protected at home, but like some ways we're like hostages at home. The truth is that that's happening. And what you have to understand is that the fight, the real fight, the real issue that we all have to come together on and to support each other on is how we treat people, how we treat all beings, how we honor all consciousness, how we honor free will. So if you're tacitly consenting to this here, then if you're trying to be a multidimensional healer, I'm going to tell you, you're not going to be as effective. You're not going to have the connection to your soul that you think you have, because it's creating a discord. There's a vast universe that's waiting for the maturation of people on this planet. Waiting. It's not an awakening. This isn't a maturity. This is a maturation process. We're in the throes of growing pains. So the big fight, whether people realize it or not, is this fight that connects us multidimensionally, which means if we want to receive more support from other dimensional consciousnesses, we all have to come together and start to say, I do not consent to live through any system that is interested in feeding off another life force energy, you know, without its consent. So basically, that means, like, we know at this point our human bodies still need food, right? We still need food. I haven't evolved to be a breatharian yet. It might be a difficult process for me. So we can still honor the food that we have and thank the food that we have. We can thank the food that we have. Like, I can't tell you how important that is, to thank plants and nature right now. So thank the food that you have. Thank it. Because then you're honoring its life force energy, and ask how you can consume food in a way that's more sustainable, and that brings us to a conscious co-creation with that plant life. And people might listen to me and say, oh, that's crazy, but we've been living through a lie. We've been living through a big lie, people. A big one. We do not need to live in a world with war or starvation or lack at all. So I know it's hard to wrap your mind around it because you've been told a lie for a long time. But I can see it. Even people that say they're woke, they still don't understand this concept. I've been kind of screaming it for years. And I've been screaming it through asking permission before you read or connect to someone's energy, before you offer healing. That's what I've been screaming about for years. This is why. Because it doesn't value the life force energy of somebody when you just decide you know better for that person than they do, or you are going to do this. It's the same thing. You're feeding what's happening right now. You're just telling you. So you better make some changes. You better start tuning into this and understand. If we get caught up on one issue, we're going to get lost. The big issue is life force energy, vital life force energy of all things and beings. If you're not doing that in the here and now, and I need to do, there's some work I need to do, especially with plants, and I've been sitting here and doing Ho'oponopono between myself and every piece of food I've ever eaten that I didn't honor at this level because I need to do it. Every animal I've eaten and didn't honor for eating it. That's the kind of stuff I've been doing for myself behind the scenes so I can come into a place um, of knowing like I've been guilty of this. I am guilty of this. Unknowingly guilty, but guilty. So I hope this is making sense to you. I hope this is making sense to understand that if we don't start doing this work, and if you're an energy healer or you're Akashic Records reader or you're a psychic or intuitive, it is impacting how you are receiving because you're tacitly consenting to stuff that you don't realize. So it's time for us to do our research. It's time for us to understand that we need a new system to live through. It's not, to me, I don't see an easy answer, like an easy fix, like, oh, we can just do that and it would be nice. I'd love it to be like that. But we need to go through some processes here to shift how we live. Now, the issue is there's so many we can learn permaculture. We can do these things. But I don't know if you realize that part of the big agenda is to take those rights away from us to plant in a co-creative way, to work with nature and animals and the planet in that way. That is what is happening. So in a way, I'm saying I've been seeing this for years. I've been seeing this pattern. I didn't have an exact name for it until now because it got really, really loud. But also, it's what actually it's why I don't fit in. It's why I don't fit in with most energy healers and light workers because of this viewpoint. Because it really, it really was a problem for me when people were just like sending me healing. I'm like, I don't want that. I don't need that. And the thing is, I have a level of sensitivity where I can feel it. You may not, but I do. I do. And some other people do too. So it's this interesting thing. It's this interesting thing to see how actually light workers are perpetuating this pattern of not valuing vital life force energy. They're not, many of them. So, in order for us as, as a people who are more awoken, we need to start doing this. And in the third dimensional level, we need to start doing this. We need to start saying, I do not consent to live through a system that does not support the vital life force energy of all beings and all consciousness that exists in the universe, even ones I don't have names for. I have to I have to honor the vital life force energy of people that I think are doing horrible things. I do. That's part of it. So that's part of what we're here to do. So I really hope that if this speaks to you, that you will share this because I don't hear anybody else speaking about this. I don't hear anyone speaking about it in this way. I don't think people understand what is really happening. I feel like we need to get organized in understanding that the big picture, again, is that um, there is a system we've been living through that is parasitic. It's parasitic. What that means, because it's parasitic, because it doesn't know it can be a resource for itself, it doesn't know that, it's actually very weak. It knows it's weak. That is why it wants to suppress humans. because we actually have within us, each one of us has an opportunity to be that infinite source of love for ourselves. Once we understand that, once we're organized by that principle, because it's a principle that I teach, it's a principle that comes through everything I teach, then, right, then we can start looking at the world as a vast resource and how to honor those resources, how to actually co-create with those resources. But because we've been living unconsciously under a parasitic system, we don't know this. People have been trying to do things that create more sustainability, but on some level, they're still consenting. We're consenting, and our parents have consented for us unknowingly. We're usually mad at them, but it's time to say no. It's not time to go, love and light will take care of it all. No, no, it will, but it won't if you don't say no, if you don't utilize your voice as that, soul source centered being of infinite love. You need to actually say it as a human. You need to take action as a human. It has to happen. So that's why I'm saying this over and over again. You can say this: I do not consent to live through a system or to be utilized by a system that is a parasitic system. I now choose to co-create with all systems and all life that is built to nurture and support the vital life force energy of all beings on this planet and beyond. I can't repeat that one. You guys are gonna someone's gonna have to type that one out for me. Someone type that one out. So you say what you don't consent to, and then you choose, right? You choose to co-create, right? You choose to be co-creative, interdependent through systems that support the vital life force energy of all beings. You could say it that way. But it's time. This is the time to make that choice. It's the time, because what we're watching is a big last gasp of a big ass parasite trying to take down humanity and trying to, you have to, there's a lot of history to understand, and people will not like me for saying this. You have to just do your own research. But you're going to have to do your research on this one, really, because I'm going to give you a bite that's going to be hard to take. It's going to be hard to take this bite. So I'm going to put it to you this way. I want you to imagine. Well, let's imagine something. Let's play, like, okay? Because I don't want to say this as an authority. I want you to play with this possibility that the God that people have been praying to, it was not the only God we could have had. That this was a God chosen to perpetuate this parasitic world, the parasitic system of living. Okay? So the God that people are worshiping is not the God they think they think it is. It's something else. It's a God that supports a parasitic way of being. But what's true source consciousness, or God, we can say, you call it good, orderly direction, um, is something we've been separated from. So, and it exists within each one of us. Every person has this. So there is some research you can do on this if you like. I will point you in that direction. But one of the resources for understanding that is Jordan Maxwell. Now, I'm not saying this is the absolute truth. I'm saying play with this as a way of understanding how we have been um, under a veil. So it can explain a lot because it's like putting this, bright light of what they're calling a god in front of you, but behind it is all this other stuff. These other agreements. They're agreements through the worship of this being. But if we can start to organize ourselves with soul and our source energy and that, it's why we're talking, it's this oneness vibration that we all have, and it's built on love. It's great. It's built on a great resource of love that we can never be depleted of because it's infinite. It's infinite. So I like to call it the infinite because that's what it is. And a lot of the energy work or the work I do with people helps them to organize their energy based on that infiniteness. So that's a way of, once you start doing that, you can start to feel how that system that we've been in has been parasitic. So I'm hoping this is helping you to see the bigger picture and to start looking around and seeing, like, and I know I said this before, but there are things that we think are life sustaining or help our lives, right? Because they seem good. Like vaccines are good because they save lives. Yes, that's one truth. But underneath, you have to look, well, what how are they life saving if they have ingredients that are life depleting? So there's an idea of a vaccine that would be wonderful. But if you look at the ingredients, they don't support that. So you have to be willing to look underneath. You have to be willing to look under. You have to be willing to just say, huh, and really tune in. And really look at those vaccine ingredients, because that's going to blow your mind, because there are actual human parts in vaccines from humans. How is that life sustaining? How is that co-creative? So again, I hope you share this. I'm trying to say this in the best way I can to help people understand that why we're having, it's such a huge systemic breakdown, because the energy of life refuses now to sustain the parasite that's been feeding off of us for thousands of years. And we need more people to understand that. We need more people to understand that. And it's not about polarity, you understand? It's not about building a world in the polar opposite of what we've been experiencing. We need to transcend the polarity. We need to understand that the organizing principle for all things has to be in support of the vital life force energy of all beings, and also honoring of free will. So how do we do that, right? That's the question. So that's the question to ask yourself while you're centered with your soul. That's and to start getting creative and starting to build something co-creative. So I hope this has been helpful. If you have any questions or anything you want to share, please tag me in the comments below. Please share this. I if you feel it resonates with you, so we can start to shift um, and understand why we're actually here. So lots of love and aloha to you all.